the third session. We may have the fourth session until 4 o'clock. Okay? So, takbo na tayo dito. Okay. So, now we have to write the code for login. Now, to do that, remember, we have done this before, no? So, ang gagawin natin, iti-check natin dun sa SQL Server yung username and password. If it's there, then we proceed. No? First, one check we need to do is, these are not empty. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng mag-ano dyan eh. They follow? They follow? Okay? So, hindi pwedeng mag-login kung empty. Di ba? So, we'll put a message, an error message. No? So, lalagay tayo ng text box. Okay? O we'll put a label. So, hindi pwedeng input lang or lagay tayo ng label dyan. So, we'll call this as LBL error. Okay? And the label is blank. Blanco lang muna. Okay? And then we'll go to the login page. No, ito yung ating code behind. We'll have to check if this dot txt username dot text dot trim is equal to ganyan, di ba? Kung blanco, hindi pwedeng mag-login, di ba? Or, lagyan natin ng or. Or dapat, what's or? Or is like that, no? This dot txt password. Okay? That text that trim. We'll say this that LBL error that text is equal to okay, username and password are required. Are both required. Okay, they follow. So hindi pwede, we cannot use an ordinary H1 or H2 because we cannot change the values on the server side. Okay, I hope you realize now, no, the difference. Okay, and then we can also change the font. We can change the font. Okay, and the font color, make this red. Tingnan mo, nag-change na yung color, no? The fore color. The back color, we'll just use this. We use the same. Let's run this. Parang nagpo-program na tayo sa no? Sa C#. There were build errors. Let's say no. There's a build error, so ito, left-hand side. Okay. Hindi daw ito pwede. Kasi dapat double equals. Dapat double equals, no? Okay, I'm sorry, no? Double equals. Iba kasi yung, I'm using another language. So I'm confused every now and then. Okay. So here it is now. We'll say login. Okay. Okay. Now we'll change the on click. No? Okay. We'll change the on click. Pag on click dito, dapat ma-erase ito. Okay? Okay? Kasi mag-click na siya eh. Do you follow? So let's go to the login ASPX. The events. The events of the username. Events. Let's change this to design mode. Sometimes hindi lumalabas ang ano. Text change. Walang on-click, no? Just say, bakit walang on-click? This.lbl. Error. Text. Lalagyan na lang din natin sa password. Okay. Para mawala yung error. Okay. Dito na siya, no? Trans here. May other screen. Mag-login ka, mag-error siya, and then i-type. Bakit hindi na gano'n? No? Ayaw. Anyway, we'll just have to remove. Lilipat na lang natin. How do we remove this, no? It's dangerous to remove this right away. So you have to go here, and then you have to remove this. Huwag mong i-remove kaagad doon. No? Kasi pag i-remove mo kaagad doon, wala. Masisira. Now we can remove this. Okay. Where do we go that? Dito na lang. Yes. Okay. Do you follow? Good. So I'd like to hold classes where there are many students. So lagyan natin dito ng NBSP. Okay. Kasi medyo madikit. Okay. 2 NBSPs. Tamang-tama talaga ito, no? Because you didn't have any experience in ano pala, in server-side programming. So, pwede tayong ASP.NET, .NET MVC. Okay? Tamang-tama pang beginners lang. Okay? So, anyway. May error tayo. Bakit may error? Bakit may error tayo? Okay. Let's build below that. Paano nagka-error? Bakit siyang error? Bakit nag-quick nag-stop tayo kanina? Character 13. Break always. Where's that? Break always. Maybe because of the NBSP. Ito. This one is the else. Okay, we'll go here. Let's remove the NBSP. Kasi nag-error tayo dyan kanina. Nag-error tayo dyan kanina sa ano. Meron, no? Wala na. Line 22, character 13. So, yeah. Merong unnecessary character. Line 22, character 13. Okay. Let's remove that anyway, no? Nag-error siya dyan. Ito. Don't know why. Else lang naman yun. So, maglagay tayo ng else dyan mamaya. Wala nang yung error. Let's retype the else, no? Baka nagkaroon ng ano. Okay. Response. Redirect. Home.pspx. Okay. Here it is, no? Okay. Ayan. Okay. Ganon. Ganon siya dapat lumabas, di ba? So I hope you distinguish between dynamic server controls and HTML controls. Okay? Ang dynamic server controls, pwede natin i-edit, pwede natin makontrol dito sa server side by this code behind coding. Ang HTML ang hirap, no? Do you follow? So that's why ASP.NET is a favorite of a lot. It's a classic favorite. Okay? Kasi ang hirap ito gagawin sa Drupal, no? Sa CodeIgniter, no? You need to have HTML helpers which are very inconvenient. So anyway, pang beginners, okay talaga ito, no? Now, let's go to our main problem, which is to connect to the database. Do you follow? Okay. So anyway, na ano na natin yung database. We have saved the database here. Okay. And then we have the globals. We have here the globals. Ano? How do we okay. So how do we connect to the database? We will use our ano, our traditional ano. Ang dami na eh. So meron na tayong ano, no? We'll use our traditional okay. Gagamitan natin ito ng connection. Okay? We have done this before, no? Okay. Okay. Let us do it the long way first, no? Let me show you the long way first. I-type ko na lang kaagad, no? Kasi ano, I'm just going to copy this para hindi tayo mahirapan mag natin. if you look at the different websites, ganito yon. We are going to use recall our string connection, and then we are going to use an SQL connection. We have done this before, no? And then we are going to select ID, and then we call this, no? Using the user. Ganito yun, gawin natin ito. And then we fill, i-call natin. We have done this before, right? No? Sa databases. Okay. We make an SQL connection, we create a command, and then we use an adapter and the data table. And then if we count, if there's a count, if the user exists, what we'll do is we do a select ID user administrator from users where username is equal to a username parameter and password is equal to this. No? So mahaba ito. The problem is we are going to repeat this consequently. No? We'd not like to do this. No? So tanggalin natin ito. Mahaba yan eh. Ayaw natin ng ganyan. Kasi So instead, we have created the code to connect in our globals. Okay? Kasi nandito tayo, meron tayong globals. Let's look at the global CS ito. So meron tayong connection dito, meron tayo dito. Okay? Open SQL connection. And then we'll close the SQL connection. So madali na lang. So dito sa ating login sa ating code behind sa login, we'll just say globals dot. Bakit hindi nag-open ng globals? Na-add na ba natin ito sa project? No. Kailangan rin natin dito mag-add ng SQL. Let's just look at globals, no? Kasi kailangan natin ito idadagdag. Itong dalawa. Ang web configuration, okay na kasi hindi na tayo mag-call ng this one. This uses SQL web configuration. Okay? So what we'll do is, we'll go here and then copy that. Okay? So ayan. Okay, now we can say globals. Bakit ayaw, no? Let's just copy. Global ba? Why did it not appear? Bakit hindi lumabas? Kasi dapat ang ating namespace is login. Now, and globals is not in simple login yet. Iba no? We'll have to do with this. Simple login, no? And that namespace, no? I'm sorry, I forgot. Naka-record ba tayo? Yes. So, simple login. So, kaya hindi lumalabas dito kanina. Let's do that again. Kasi mag-pega siya. Ayan, lumabas na. Close. We'll change the indentation. You know what this is, no? Hindi ka pwedeng mag-webtech to kung wala kang databases. We've gone through this. If you have difficulty, you tell me, no? So I'm going to explain this again. But we know what an adapter is. You know what a table is, right? Okay. Now, if count is equal to 1, which means there is such a user with the correct password, we will respond that redirect to home.aspx. Else, we will have an invalid logins. Okay? Okay, so pwede na rin ganito ito, no? Yung ating error kanina, pangit yun no? Kasi hindi natin makontrol. So we'll just have to use this. Username. Ayan. Diba? So that when we go to our login ASPX, we'll just remove this error na lang. Pangit. So now, yeah. Let's run this. There are errors. Let's go to that. Con does not exist. No. Mali na ito. This is not con anymore. Okay, we'll say globals dot sqlcon. Ganun siya dapat, di ba? Ito yung connection string doon sa globals na na-save. Let's look at globals, no? So, yung sqlcon, is there an connection string? Dito na lang, gagawin na lang natin dito. Public static con str, no? Is that correct? So, gagawin na lang natin itong con str. Si this na ito, this. Con str. Okay, kasi string, public static string. Okay? So, andyan na. So anyway, may mali pa rin tayo dito sa because this should be tama na ito, SQL connection man, hindi connection string. Okay? Let's run this because the parameter should be an SQL connection. So wala nang error, okay? There it is, no? Oh, so we'll say invalid login, okay? Then we'll say admin. The password is admin. Pumunta na siya sa homepage ngayon. Okay? Let's go back to the login. Invalid login. We'll change that later, no? We can change that later, no? Okay? You say user one. User one. Okay. Do you follow? Any questions so far? Huh? Huh? Any questions so far? Anong oras ba tayo mag-i-end? It's our schedule, by the way. Let's go to AIS. So I'd like you to do a simple login page yourself, no? $125 to $425. 330 pa. So we can rest a while, no? But we will continue. Okay? Kasi sayang yung oras natin. Okay? Now let me show you an application which I've created. This is how we will create. We will create a web page, a dynamic web page. Kasi ganito no? Let me open the project. A library project. I've copied this from one of the YouTube videos which I've improved kasi medyo may mga repetitions pa yung kanyang code and then walang gamit ng series session variables. It's there in our it's on our regular site, no? I'd like you to look at that YouTube video of his by CodvinCat and then by very good. They're very good programmers, no? Ang galing ng mga Indian. Kailan kaya natin sila kahit, no, malalagpasan. Talaga, ang galing nila eh. Diba? Ganito ang gusto kong gagawin ninyo, no? Let's look at this web page. It's something with a master page, no? Okay. Meron siyang home, about us, views, login, logout. Okay? But the appearance will depend on whether the user is logged in or logged out. Do you follow? Let me run that, no? So, i-control natin ito from the server side. Mag-login tayo. Now, look at that. This is the menu. There's home, there's about us, and there's user login. Okay? So, yun lang ang makikita niya. Pero pag mag-login na siya, for example, user 1, click login. So, meron na siyang view books. Okay? View books. Which you can now, when it goes there, this is the view books page. This is the home page. This is the about page. You have to populate this yourself. No? However, so if you look at that, the address is viewbooks.aspx. No? And then you will have hello user 1. If you're logged out, for example, and you will attempt to go to viewbooks.aspx, let's look at that. No? Pwede, di ba? Didiretsuhin mo yan. Viewbooks.aspx. No? You put this. So, hindi siya papayag because the user is not logged in. Let's go to that. Dito ka sa home and then you'll go to viewbooks.aspx. Okay. Viewbooks, dalawa. Sorry, no? Isa lang ang dot. It's an error, no? ASPX. So, if he goes to a page which requires a login, he will be redirected to the login page. Do you follow? And when he has successfully logged in, we will record his name in one of the cookies, no? Sa browser cookie. Para you will know who the user is. Alam natin, this is user 1. Do you follow? Do you follow? Okay? Okay? So, ngayon, pwede na siya magdiretso ng viewbooks because he is logged in. Okay? Pwede magdiretso sa viewbooks. Do you follow? Do you get my point? Okay? We will do that. Okay? Titingnan natin, no? Okay, before we do that, we will continue to our, uh, and then we will have CRUDs, no? By the way, usually, have you tried doing WordPress? No, di ba merong admin login page? So if you log in as admin, no, you have a login user, an admin user. So meron tayong author. Ito yung admin menu. Meron tayong author management. Okay? We will have publisher management. We will have a CRUDs like this. Now, for example, we have CRUDs for all authors. So this CRUDs is a useful facility, no, which can allow us to add authors. For example, we'll add an author. Let's delete that. Kasi mag-add tayo ng author, ABC. We click plus. So now the author is added. No? Okay? Do you follow? You want to delete an author? For example, this one, we want to delete this. We click this delete button, and then it confirms. We say okay, so it's deleted. If you want to edit an author, like this, so we edit. You can cancel the edit. It goes back to the original form. Or you can save the edit. Okay, click this, and it's saved. Do you follow? So, maganda, di ba? We have done a CRUDs before in our Windows project. But this time, we will do a CRUDs in our web page. Okay? We will also use the same grid view. It's almost the same grid view kasi dito sa dito sa ating toolbox, we have a grid view. No? It's slightly different because the grid view we are using there is data grid view. It's slightly different. What's the main difference? Hindi tayo pwede maglagay ng combo box. Okay, yan ang problema. Okay. However, the good news about this is we can use our report, the report which we have created in our project last semester, no? Pwede natin gamitin yung RDLC. Okay? Are we being recorded? Yes. Okay. Okay, tayo lumabas. Let me run this, no? Like this. Here it is, no? Punta tayo sa admin login. Iba kasi yung admin login sa plain user login, no? Admin can do a lot of things. Pwede siyang ma-add edit. Now, sometimes the users can only view and can only borrow books, no, and so on like that. Now, when you go to author management, you print. Okay, it opens a new tab, no? By the way, the pop-up blocker, by the way, you have to set off, no? Kasi kung hindi, so now we have a report. Do you follow? Now we can print this report. Okay, you can save this to PDF. You can print this report. It may be this, but when you print, no, you can change the printer, and then when you click save, it will be sent to the printer. Do you follow? This is one of the biggest advantage of ASP.NET over the other platforms, because unlike in Laravel and then what's this in Laravel and Django, you don't have a report generator, which means no, you have to use a different tool for PDF. No, you have to use a PDF writer, and then doing that, you're like using a paint, where you have to manually place everything, and then even the text, even then it's very difficult to do. No, it's much more different if you're using a report generator. We have used the same report generator called RDLC. You can use the same here. Do you follow? So pareho lang, magamit natin yung report doon. And then we can have multiple reports. We can have pictures in the report. We can have like this. Now we have done this before, right? So pwede natin itong gagawin dito sa ASP.NET. Any questions so far? No? Any questions? Okay. Let's proceed to a little no? A page, no? Let's go on to our simple example, no? Simple example muna tayo, no? So that's the project that you are going to do. So likewise, at the end of the semester, you will be grouped into groups of threes, no? Konti lang naman tayo dito. You will create the same project that you have created last semester. You will create a CRUDs, no? A printout of all the master CRUDs that you have in your project. No? Gagawa ka ng CRUDs, log in and log out, and then printing. No? We may not have master detail because master detail is really difficult to do in the web. No? So that's why Windows applications will never be irrelevant, because there are applications which you cannot create, you can never create in the web. Okay? Like in Lazada, you can have shopping carts, but you cannot have any more complicated than that. No? So may iba, pwede tayo hanggang or registration forms, pwede tayo adding, dropping, and subjects, but you cannot have an extensive master detail form. Okay? Medyo mahirap yung gagawin even in Laravel. You can do that, no? But you will have to take a lot of time and effort. Okay? Any questions so far? So balik tayo dito sa demo. Nakalagin na tayo, di ba? Meron na tayong login. I'll place the code, no? Anyway. No? So ito na. We are going to use to open an SQL statement, and then we're going to select the user. What we did is, okay, ito yung ginawa natin, no? We selected the user. Ayan. From the users table, where the username is the given username from txt input. Ito, di ba? Ng txt password. Galing ito doon sa ActiveX controls, rather dynamic controls sa ASP.NET. Okay? Do you follow? Okay? Did you get my point? No? You have done this before, and it's exactly the same code that we are using here. Okay. Now, before we, we'll have to create a view. Shall we say we'll have a view books? No? Wala na yung aking Okay, project. Let's have a simple application called. Shall we say we will not allow going to the about page without having logged in. Okay? Ang gusto natin gagawin ngayon is we will not allow the user to go to the about page kung hindi siya nakalogin. Kasi ganito eh. Kung hindi siya nakalogin, pwede siyang dumiretso sa about. Sorry. Dumiretso siya sa about page. And then we also don't want him to go to the home page, for example. Home. Pumunta siya sa home page, hindi pa siya nakalogin. Okay? Do you follow? What we'd like to do is to ano nga ito i-clear? Nalimutan ko how to clear a variable. Let me check. Ganyan. How to clear a session variable. Nalimutan ko. I have to You know what a session state is? Titingnan niyo yung video sa ni Kudvinkat about view state and session state. No? Hanapin niyo dun sa kanyang table of contents. Look at the session on view state and session state. Okay? Limutan ko yung command. Remove. Okay, remove pala. So, remove. Okay? So, remove. Okay. What we'll do is to use a session state variable. What is a session state variable? A session state variable is a variable that is assigned to each user an individual session. Ibig sabihin, if you have two sessions, which means one browser is one session. If you have two sessions, one in Google Chrome and one in Opera, they will have two different states. Okay? You will have a different copy of your username. So, magkaiba yung states mo kung nasaan ka, kung which page you are browsing or not. Do you follow? So, that is called a session state. Now, a view state is a state which applies to all users, which means that, for example, the global variables we have, the SQL connection and the SQL string, will be the same for all users regardless of which session they are. So they share the same. So there are variables which we can share to all users, and there are variables which we cannot. Like for example, the connection string. All users will have the same connection string, so pwede natin siya ilagay sa global variables. But the username, the user access, whether he is admin or not, hindi natin pwede ilagay sa global because the moment an admin user logs in, all users having a session will become admin. Do you get my point? Do you follow? So we have to use them in a session variable. Do you follow? Do you follow? No? So let's go back. Now let's add a session variable. No? We will use the session. No? Username. So when you say session, a session variable called username is created. Is equal to this dot txt username text. Okay? Do you follow? Do you follow? Okay? Ilalagyan natin yan. So now, the session username is here. No? is now saved as a session variable for the particular user. Now, a different user will have a different username. Okay? Do you follow? I hope it's clear, no? So that in our home.aspx, maglagay tayo ng welcome and the name. Okay? The username. Lalagay natin dito ang username. Okay? We'll use a label. Where's label? Okay. We'll use this as later we will do CSS, no? Pahabayaan muna. We'll just use NBSP so far. So the ID is LBL username. So mag-ano na naman tayo? Mag-break na naman tayo. The next session will be our last session, okay? For the day. Okay, I'll upload all sessions, okay? I'll be back, ha? That will be for our last session. Kailangan nating record